Hi guys, so in this video I am going to discuss a very good question, lowest common ancestor in a binary tree. It's considered a medium question, but I will consider it as very good question. So let me give you intuition how you need to solve this question. If you have given a binary tree like this, and if you are asked that P and Q, P basically represents the first node and Q basically represents the second node. LCA represents the lowest common ancestor of them. If I will be considering true cases, so I will draw a matrix like this. And in if the P is equals to 4 and the Q is equals to 5, so I can say that my lowest common ancestor will be 2. How? Let us find out. So 4 is equals to P, 5 is equals to Q. Then in that case, my 2 will say from the left I am getting, from the left I am seeing that okay it's 4. My right is, from my right I can see it's 5. So I can say that 2 is my lowest common ancestor. So I will return 2 to 1. And the one will say okay, 2 is the lowest common ancestor, right? So I will return it, I will return 2, so 2 will be returned as our answer. So this was the case number 1. And what is the case number 2? Case number 2 will be something like if p is equals to 2 and q is equals to 5, p is equals to 2, q is equals to 5. So what will be my lowest common ancestor? My lowest common ancestor will be 2 only, because 2 uh, 2 is parent or equal to 2, and 2 is parent of 5 also. So 2 is answer, 2 is my answer again. Okay, so I told you two cases. In the first case, the my current node was not the answer. My current node was not the answer, or not the LCA, but my left node was my LCA. But my left node was having P and my right node was having Q. So I told that since my left node is having P, right node is having Q, so it will be my lowest common ancestor, and I need to return that lowest common ancestor as my answer. In the second case, I told you that the current node which I am currently on itself is my lowest common ancestor, since one of its children are having Q and it itself is P. So that case, I will be returning my current node as my answer. And if 2 is returned here, so one will check that okay, uh, 2 is the lowest common ancestor, but how will it find out that it needs to return 2, not 1? Because what I am doing in this question is I am basically using null to denote, to check that null basically represents that this is the that nothing, neither P nor Q is found out from that path. And if any other thing than null, or I can say something not null, is returned, so that will basically mean that either P is returned or Q is returned. Okay, so for example, here this returned null, here this returned null. So right, if current is equals to 2, then right means right children of 2 would have got received null, and the left would have received 5. So I will say that okay, 5 is not something null, but right is something null. So so basically my nothing, neither P nor Q is found out in 2's left neighbor, but something which is not null, which is 5. So there is something which I got from 2's right neighbor. right children. And when I return to 1, so one don't know it is P or Q, right? Means it is my lowest common ancestor, it's my lowest common ancestor, or it is just P or Q like 5, P or Q like 5, because 2 is the lowest common ancestor and one needs to return 2 as it is, right? One don't need to check for other nodes, one don't need to uh, do something else, like one will be trying to become a lowest common ancestor itself. One should be returning 2. So how one will be able to know that 2 which we have already got is our answer? So I will tell you this. A- as I tell you this code, so uh, you will understand that case. So this is the standard condition in every code, and I am storing I in my current in whatever node I am on. If it is equal to P, or if it is equal to Q, then in that case I will say that okay, now node should be stored in current. Otherwise, if the current node is neither equal to P nor is equals to Q, then I will say store null in my current. Okay, then I am calling its left neighbor and right neighbor. So let us take an example. uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for example, 2 is equals to P and 5 is equals to Q. In that case, what will happen? This is equal to current. 2 is equals to my current. So I will say, okay, my current is equals to 2. Okay. From my left, I have neither P nor Q. So it will be returning me null. So it will be returning me null. From my right I will be receiving 5. Okay, my 5, I will be receiving 5. So what I will do, I will first check that if it's a case like if it's a case like 1, 2 and 3, 2 is P and 3 is Q, so I will say that 1 should be my lowest common ancestor. So that thing I have written here, 1 is my lowest common ancestor. Since both are not null, it means that the node is the lowest common ancestor. So I am returning the node which is the lowest common ancestor. Since in the left subtree of 1, I am uh, P is there, and right subtree of 1, Q is there. Okay. And what are the other cases? So this handle the case number 1, this one case number 1, and this is case number 2. So we have to handle case number 2 also, right? So what I will be doing is I will say that is current is equals to P or current is equals to Q. So I will say yep, current is equals to P. So this becomes true. So this statement need not to be checked and node will be returned because node is our lowest common ancestor. Okay. So same thing one can also do, because one will say that okay, I have received something. No, one cannot done this. One cannot do this. Why? Because one is the current node, but one will be but in one null will be stored because it is neither equal to P nor is equals to Q. So null will be stored in it. So this statement will become false for the recursion call of 1. So we were discussing when current was equals to 2. So in that case 2 will be returned, 2 will be returned, and then we will go to 1, and in 1 I will say okay, I am receiving something from the left or I am receiving something from the right. If left is not null, so return left. If or otherwise, return right. Otherwise, what I will return is null. What does this mean? That in that complete subtree, I didn't find anything, so I am returning null. Okay, so this is the code. Whatever I just taught you, by that you must have got the intuition that how to proceed for this problem, and these comments will definitely help you. Basically you just need to figure out what all cases are possible and write the code for those possible cases. Similar thing I have written. This is my own code, and I proceeded the question like, okay, first I decided that if I will represent null as something which is not neither p nor q, so it will represent that the whole subtree, in that whole subtree neither p nor q was present. And if there is something not null, so I can say that okay, either p or q will be present in that subtree of that current node. Sometimes my current is itself the lowest common ancestors. To handle that case, I have written this. And if it's like we found only one of p and q, so I will say, if it is like 1 2 3 and 4 is written here, 5 is written here, so if my p is equals to 3 but my q is equals to 4, then in that case 3 will be returned here, 3 will be returned here, and then 4 will be returned from here. So one will say that my left recursion call returned me 3, my right recursion call returned me 4. It means that I am the lowest common ancestor, and 1 will be returned. From which case? From this case 1 will be returned from this case. Otherwise, not otherwise, in the previous steps, what will happen is, when I say that okay, current is equals to 3, current is equals to 3, and for in that case this statement will be executed, which is basically, if current is equals to p or current is equals to 2, current is equals to q, then return the node. So 3 will be returned to 2, then 2 will say this statement is also false, this condition is also false. So it will say that okay, my left is something which is not null but my right is null, so I will return the 3. So 3 will be returned from this condition. And if I was in 5, so 5 will say that neither this condition was true for 5, nor this condition was true for 5, nor this condition was true for 5. So it will return null, which basically means that no answer was returned, so null will be returned by 5. So this is the code, and you can refer the comments. So I hope you would have got the complete intuition, the complete approach, and how to write the code for this question. So if you understood the problem, you can like the video and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you in the next one.